Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. This time we're looking at brandherde.
Brandherde,
Yeah,
a German creative agency.
and they have kind of an intriguing approach, and I'm really curious to hear what you have to say
Yeah.
about them. So we'll be focusing on their website for this deep dive, taking a look at what they do. And specifically, this whole Goosebumps philosophy that they talk about.
Yeah, it's an interesting one for sure.
It is. And of course, we're going to see what their clients have to say about working with them.
Right, because their website isn't just a dry list of services like you see on a lot of agency sites.
Right.
It actually gives you a feel for their creative process, how they think.
Yeah.
It's very interesting how they've set it up.
Okay, so let's start with the basics.
Yeah.
What does brandherde actually do? I mean, they highlight
Yeah.
5
Right.
key service areas on their website: event film, digital print, and ideas.
Yeah, and even just glancing at those categories, you can tell they're not afraid to mix the traditional with the cutting edge.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's break those down a little bit. Event, for example. What kind of events are we talking about here?
Well, they talk about creating these multi-sensory experiences, going beyond just the typical event planning
Okay.
to really make an impact.
So not just putting chairs in a room and handing out appetizers.
Yeah.
We're talking about something more innovative.
Exactly. Innovative design, interactive elements, things that get people talking.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then there's film. Clearly, they're very passionate about.
Oh, definitely. It's all about visual storytelling for them.
Yeah.
Bringing brand messages to life through film. And they specifically mention working with partners,
Oh, interesting.
which suggests a strong emphasis on collaboration, which aligns with some of their other slogans and stuff we see later.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, digital. Well, that's a given in today's world.
Right. Absolutely. It seems like they're all about leveraging technology, you know, creating online campaigns, interactive platforms, reaching a wider audience.
Makes sense. But here's what I find interesting. They also have print, which some might say,
Yeah.
is becoming a bit obsolete in this digital age.
You would think.
Yeah.
But they seem to believe in the power of tangible things, the physical connection that print can offer.
I get that.
Yeah.
There is something special about holding a beautifully designed brochure
Right.
or a magazine, feeling the texture of the paper, seeing the colors pop. It's just,
It's an experience.
yeah, you can't replicate that online.
No, you can't.
Okay, and lastly, ideas,
Right.
which I guess is really the foundation of everything they do.
Yeah, and this is where we start to see that Goosebumps philosophy coming into play.
Okay, tell me more about that, because this is what really intrigued me when I first
Yeah.
saw their website.
So they use this phrase, Gänsehaut lügt nicht, which translates to goosebumps don't lie.
Okay.
And it's all about creating experiences that evoke genuine emotion, something that stays with you
Sure.
long after the event is over or, whatever it is.
So we're not talking about literally getting goosebumps from being cold or scared.
No. We're talking about that feeling you get when something truly moves you,
Right.
when you have a genuine emotional response.
It's like that chill that goes down your spine when you hear an amazing piece of music.
Yeah, or when you see a powerful performance, something that really resonates with you on a deeper level.
And they believe that those goosebumps are a sign that they've hit on something special.
Exactly. And they have other slogans on their site that really reinforce this idea.
Right.
We make communication tangible. Real sympathy arises from personal encounters.
So it seems like they really value that human connection, that face-to-face interaction.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They believe in the power of genuine interaction to make a lasting impression.
It's interesting because they're not just talking about getting a message across or,
Right.
achieving a specific marketing objective.
It's deeper than that.
Yeah, they're talking about making people feel something, connecting with them on a deeper level.
Think about the ads or marketing campaigns that have really stuck with you over the years. Chances are they weren't just informative, they made you feel something.
You're right. I'm thinking about that commercial with the puppy and the horse.
Oh, yeah.
It makes me cry every time. And it's not even for a product that I use.
Right, but the emotional connection is so strong that it's become memorable.
Exactly. So brandherde is aiming for that, creating those emotional touch points that leave a lasting impression.
And build a stronger connection between the brand and the audience.
So it's not just about putting on a good show. It's about crafting experiences that resonate with people on a deeper, more emotional level.
Okay.
But how do they actually put this philosophy into practice? Do they give us any concrete examples?
They do. And they don't shy away from showcasing their successes either. For instance, they mention a Jubilee event they organized for Stopier.
Stopier.
Yeah, a company that makes safety products.
Okay, so I'm thinking some kind of anniversary celebration,
Yeah.
big festive, lots of people.
Yes, but they didn't just go with the typical party approach. They went deeper, developed a whole new slogan and visual identity
Wow.
for Stope that aimed to, quote, emotionalize the product.
Emotionalize the product. That's interesting. I mean, safety products aren't usually the most
Right.
emotionally charged things.
But they managed to find a way to connect people to the brand on a deeper level, even though the product itself isn't inherently emotional.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
And it sounds like it worked because their client was clearly very happy with the results.
Oh, yeah, they were thrilled. Another example is a film they produced for Trumpler GmbH & Co. KG,
Okay.
which, according to the website, really wowed the stakeholders.
And stakeholders, for those of us not deep in the business world, are basically anyone who has a vested interest in the company.
Exactly. Investors, employees, even customers. So impressing them with a film is a pretty big deal.
It suggests that they went beyond just showcasing the company or product, that they created something engaging.
Yeah, something that resonated with people on an emotional level.
All right, so we're starting to get a sense of how they translate this Goosebumps philosophy into action.
Right.
But what about client feedback in general? What are people saying about working with brandherde?
Well, there's a whole section on their website dedicated to client testimonials.
Okay.
And the feedback is overwhelmingly positive. Clients praise their creativity, their professionalism,
Yeah.
and their ability to deliver impactful experiences.
That's great to hear. It's one thing for a company to say they're amazing, but it's another thing entirely
right.
to have happy clients singing their praises.
Right.
Do they highlight any specific quotes or anything?
Yes. They feature a testimonial from Edgar Bursig, the managing director at Stopier. He was really impressed with their ability to emotionalize their product.
There's that word again.
I know, right? And how it created a lasting impression on their customers.
So it sounds like they're really good at understanding their clients' needs and translating those into campaigns
Yeah.
and experiences that resonate with people. But I'm curious, who's actually behind all of this? What do we know about the team?
Well, they do provide some information, but it's surprisingly minimal. They only list 2 team members.
2?
Yeah, just 2. Holger, who's the CEO and owner, and Michi, who handles media design.
That's interesting. It seems like a pretty small team for an agency that's doing such diverse work.
It does make you wonder if they have a wider network of collaborators that they bring in depending on the project.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
Especially considering their emphasis on collaboration.
Right. Remember that slogan, nothing works without a team?
It's almost like they're building these custom creative task forces for each project, bringing in the right people with the right skills. Okay, so we've got a good overview of what brandherde does.
Yeah.
Their Goosebumps philosophy and what their clients think. But what does this all mean for someone like you listening right now?
That's a great question, and that's where we're going to dive deeper next.
Okay.
We'll explore just how effective this Goosebumps approach can be, whether it's just a catchy tagline or a genuine way to create meaningful connections with an audience.
Ooh, I like where this is going. Stay tuned, folks, as we unpack the psychology of emotion,
Yes.
the ethics of marketing, and the future of brand communication, all through the lens of brandherde's unique approach.
It's going to be good.
It is.
So we've seen how this agency really emphasizes creating those emotional connections,
Yeah.
those goosebump moments.
Right.
But it makes you wonder, is this Goosebumps Don't Lie philosophy really effective in advertising?
That's the big question,
Or
right?
is it just a catchy slogan?
Yeah. I mean, we're so used to ads hitting us with all the facts and figures,
Right.
trying to appeal to our logical side.
Exactly. But brandherde seems to be going for something different, something more visceral,
Yeah.
something that makes you feel.
And what's fascinating is that there's actually a lot of research that backs this up.
Oh, there is.
Yeah, neuroscientists and marketers have been studying how our emotions play a role in our decisions.
Yeah.
And it turns out feelings often trump logic, especially when it comes to brand loyalty and buying things.
Yeah.
So those goosebumps that brandherde is chasing could actually be a sign that they've hit on something powerful.
Think about it this way. When you see an ad that makes you laugh or cry or feel a sense of awe, you're more likely to remember it.
That's true.
Those emotional responses, they create memories.
It's like the difference between reading a dry textbook and getting swept away by a captivating story.
Exactly. One engages your mind, the other captures your imagination and stays with you long after you've finished.
So Brandherde is trying to create those storytelling moments, those emotional triggers, to make their clients' messages unforgettable.
Precisely. And they're doing it strategically. They're crafting experiences designed to evoke specific emotions
Okay.
that align with their clients' goals, whether it's excitement, joy, or a sense of connection.
It's almost like they're composing a symphony of emotions,
Ooh, I like that.
using different elements, visuals, sounds, interactions, to create a harmonious and impactful experience.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
And just like a skilled composer, they're aware of the nuances of each instrument they're using.
So it's not just about being flashy or loud. It's about being intentional and thoughtful with every detail.
Right. Creating a cohesive emotional journey for the audience.
It makes you wonder, though, if this approach is so effective, why aren't we seeing more of it?
Well, it's not easy to do well. It requires a deep understanding of your audience, a willingness to experiment,
Yeah.
and a commitment to going beyond the surface level. It's definitely more challenging and maybe even riskier than just sticking to traditional data-driven approaches.
And there's the question of measurement.
Right. Exactly.
It's much easier to track things like website clicks and sales figures than it is to measure emotional responses.
That's true. But that doesn't mean those emotional responses aren't valuable. It just means we need to find better ways to understand and measure their impact.
So it's a bit of a leap of faith for companies to invest in this kind of marketing.
It is. They have to trust that those goosebumps will translate into tangible results down the line.
It requires a shift in mindset, doesn't it?
It does. A willingness to see marketing in a more holistic way, one that recognizes the power of emotions.
But how do we know if it's the right approach for a particular company or campaign? Are there any red flags to watch out for?
That's a great question. While emotional marketing can be very powerful, it's not a one-size-fits-all solution.
Okay.
There are definitely situations where it might not be the most effective strategy or where it needs to be used carefully.
So when should a company maybe pump the brakes on the goosebumps and stick to a more straightforward approach?
Well, if your product or service is very technical or complex, focusing solely on emotion might not be the best way to go. You still need to provide clear and concise information
Right.
so that potential customers understand what you're offering.
You don't want to leave people feeling confused or overwhelmed,
Right.
but you also don't want to just bombard them with emotions without any substance.
Exactly. It's all about finding that balance. What about the audience? Does that play a role?
I would imagine so.
Absolutely. If you're marketing to a very specific audience that's known for being analytical and data-driven,
Okay.
then a purely emotional approach might not resonate as well.
You have to speak their language.
Yes, both literally and figuratively.
And I guess another thing to be wary of is the potential for manipulation, right?
Oh, absolutely. Emotions can be powerful motivators.
Yeah.
And it's important to use them ethically and responsibly.
So there's a fine line between creating genuine emotional connections and using manipulative tactics to exploit people's feelings.
Exactly. For example, using fear or guilt to sell a product can be effective in the short term.
Yeah.
But it can also damage your brand reputation in the long run.
So it's not just about evoking any emotion, it's about evoking the right emotions
Right.
in a way that feels authentic and aligns with your brand values.
It's about building trust and relationships, not just generating quick sales.
And that's something that Brandherde seems to understand based on their emphasis on creating real sympathy and personal encounters.
Exactly. But how do we actually know if it's working? How do we measure the effectiveness of a campaign that's focused on creating those goosebump moments?
That's a tough one. We can't just rely on clicks and conversions if we're talking about deeper emotional responses.
Right. It requires a more nuanced approach.
Yeah.
We need to look at things like brand sentiment, social media engagement,
Okay.
and even physiological responses like heart rate and skin conductivity.
Wow.
It's about gathering data from multiple sources to get a more complete picture of how people are reacting to a campaign.
So it's not as simple as just looking at a spreadsheet of numbers.
No, it's not. You need to dig a little deeper and consider a wider range of factors.
And it also requires patience, right?
It does.
Yeah.
The impact of emotional marketing might not be immediately apparent. It often takes time for those connections to build and translate into tangible results.
So it's not a quick fix. It's a long-term strategy that requires a commitment to building authentic relationships with your audience.
Exactly. And I think Brandherde's philosophy embodies this approach. They're not just chasing fleeting moments of excitement. They're striving to create experiences that have a lasting impact and build meaningful connections.
And if those experiences happen to give people goosebumps along the way.
Well, that's just a bonus. It's a
Yeah.
sign that they've tapped into something primal, something that resonates on a deeper level.
And in a world saturated with information and distractions, that kind of connection is more valuable than ever.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've talked about the potential benefits and pitfalls of emotional marketing and the challenges of measuring its effectiveness.
Yeah.
But Brandherde mentions anticipating trends and observing the future on their website. What do you think the future holds for this type of marketing?
Is it just a passing fad, or is it here to stay?
That's a fascinating question, and one that's particularly relevant in our rapidly evolving digital landscape.
Yeah.
As technology continues to advance, I think we're seeing a growing need for human connection and authenticity.
So in a world that's becoming increasingly automated and personal, you're saying emotional marketing could be a way for brands to stand out and connect with people.
Exactly. People are craving experiences that make them feel something, that remind them of their shared humanity.
So it's not just about keeping up with the latest tech trends. It's about understanding the deeper human needs that technology often fails to address.
Precisely. It's about recognizing that people are more than just data points or consumers. They're complex individuals with emotions, desires, and a longing for connection.
So if Brandherde is right about observing the future, then emotional marketing isn't just a trend. It's a fundamental shift in how we approach communication and connection.
Right. And as technology continues to blur the lines between the physical and digital worlds,
Yeah.
the ability to create meaningful emotional experiences will become even more crucial.
It's almost like we're entering a new era of marketing, where those goosebumps aren't just a nice to have.
Right.
They're a necessity for brands that want to truly connect with their audience.
That's a great way to put it. And I think Brandherde is ahead of the curve in recognizing this shift
Yeah.
and embracing a philosophy that puts emotion at the forefront. Now let's look at how they put this philosophy into practice, shall we?
Let's do it. Okay, so we've talked a lot about this whole goosebumps don't lie thing,
Yeah.
but I want to see how it actually plays out in their projects.
Right.
You mentioned some client examples earlier.
I did. Let's look at how they translate those goosebumps into real-world results.
Okay.
Remember that Jubilee event for Stope, the safety product company?
Yeah, I was picturing like a big festive thing with a marching band.
Well, it sounds like it was definitely a celebration, but they went beyond the typical party approach.
Oh.
They actually developed a new slogan and visual identity for Stope, something that would resonate with their audience on a deeper level.
It's interesting how they found a way to emotionalize a product that isn't inherently emotional. You know,
Right.
like you don't usually get warm fuzzies thinking about safety gear.
Exactly. But that's what's so clever about their approach. They find those emotional touch points,
Yeah.
even in unexpected places, and it seems to work. Their client specifically mentioned how impressed they were with Brandherde's ability to make their products
Okay.
connect with customers on an emotional level.
Let's move on to that film they made for Trumpler, GmbH & Co. KG. Do you remember any details about that one?
Yeah, this one stood out to me because they said it really impressed the stakeholders,
Right.
which is a tough crowd to please.
Wait, it's...
You've got investors, employees, and even customers, all with different perspectives and expectations.
So for a film to resonate with all those different groups, it must have been pretty compelling.
It must have been.
Maybe they told a story about the company's history or highlighted how their products make a difference
Right.
in people's lives.
It's hard to know for sure without seeing it, but that's what Brandherde seems to be so good at.
Yeah.
Finding those narratives that connect with people on an emotional level. They turn a corporate film into something engaging, something that makes you feel something.
Then there was that huge 50th anniversary celebration for Peter Huber Kelta Maschinenbau AG.
Oh, yeah!
450 guests. That's a lot of potential goosebumps.
It sounds like it was a massive event. But again, Brandherde focused on creating an experience that went beyond just the typical party.
Yeah.
They really wanted to make it memorable and meaningful for everyone involved.
Okay, so I'm imagining amazing food, live music, maybe some surprise entertainment.
Maybe.
What really stood out to you about this example?
Well, the client, Daniel Huber, highlighted their ideas and professionalism,
Okay.
which tells me they went above and beyond to create something unique and impactful. They didn't just throw a party.
Yeah.
They crafted an experience that aligned with the company's values and left a lasting impression.
All right, let's talk about this backstage dinner experience. This one sounds like it really embodies their philosophy.
Yes, this is a perfect example of how they blurred the lines between guests and the kitchen,
Okay.
creating an immersive and interactive dining experience. It's so much more engaging than just passively sitting at a table.
I love that concept. It's like turning dinner into a performance
Right.
with the chefs as the stars and the guests as active participants. You
Exactly.
get to see how your food is prepared, interact with the people behind the scenes, maybe even learn some new cooking techniques.
It's a feast for all the senses.
And they even have a quote from a famous TV chef praising the unique and engaging atmosphere.
They do.
So they're not just getting kudos from their clients, but from experts in the culinary world as well.
That's right.
It sounds like they're really pushing the boundaries of what a dining experience can be.
Mm-hmm.
What other examples did they mention on their website?
Well, they highlighted a gala they planned for Schultz and Braun GmbH,
Okay.
which the client described as a perfect and once-in-a-lifetime experience.
Wow.
And there's a documentary they produced for Trumpler GmbH & Co. KG, which apparently generated a lot of buzz and excitement.
The documentary. That's a pretty unique choice for a corporate event.
It-
It suggests that they're willing to explore deeper topics and tell stories that go beyond just,
Right.
the surface level.
And they also organized an event for the Huber family, which, according to the testimonial, created moving moments and lasting memories.
So they're not just focused on corporate clients.
No, they're not. They're able to adapt their approach to different contexts, whether it's a family gathering, a product launch, or a documentary film.
And remember how they mentioned their work with Beiersdorf AG, creating visualizations to help communicate their ideas?
Yes, that shows how they're able to translate abstract concepts into compelling visuals.
Right.
This is so important in today's world where people are constantly bombarded with information. You need to be able to capture their attention and convey your message in a way that is both clear and engaging.
It's like they're visual translators for emotions, taking complex ideas and turning them into something that people can connect with.
Yeah.
And what's even more impressive is that they seem to be doing all of this with a relatively small core team.
Right. It really speaks to their ability to collaborate effectively and leverage their network of partners and freelancers. They bring in the right people with the right skills depending on the project, which allows them to be incredibly adaptable and versatile.
So brandherde is this creative powerhouse that's constantly pushing the boundaries of what's possible in marketing and communication.
They are.
But at the heart of it all is this unwavering belief in the power of emotion to create lasting connections.
Exactly. They're not just chasing trends. They're tapping into something fundamental about human nature, our desire to connect with others, to feel something, to be moved by experiences.
So what's the big takeaway for our listener today?
I think the biggest takeaway is that emotion matters. In a world that's increasingly data-driven and technology-focused, it's easy to lose sight of the human element. But brandherde is reminding us that by tapping into those emotions, those goosebump moments, we can create experiences that truly resonate and leave a lasting impact.
So the next time you're trying to communicate an idea or create a marketing campaign, ask yourself, how can I make this more emotional? How can I evoke those goosebumps?
Exactly. Think about the story you're telling, the experience you're creating, and the emotions you want to evoke. Don't be afraid to experiment, to push boundaries, and to embrace the power of human connection.
And if you're looking for inspiration, check out brandherde's website. We'll include the link in the show notes. They're a great example of how to create marketing that is both effective and meaningful.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep connecting, and keep chasing those goosebumps.